to the Statera podcast. This special edition, we're in Brisbane, and today I'm joined by Brisbaneite SJ and Tim. And this is actually Tim's place, so yeah, thanks very much for having us here, Tim. And
anytime, man.
You're yeah,
love to have you here.
Much appreciated. SJ and I met in Perth last year. SJ was on an episode something or another of the podcast, and yeah, she lives in Brisbane, so I've just come over for a few days. And yeah, Tim I used to go to high school with, and through the benefits of the internet and social media, we've become friends again, and realised we've got a lot in common and same interests. So yeah, here we are today, and thought we'd do a podcast together. So we actually don't know what we're going to talk about, but I think maybe what we spoke about a little bit earlier about the actual maybe, yeah, just that the sharing of information that's become really prevalent with the internet, and what that's achieved as far as helping people individually on an individual basis. You know, it's really, really interesting and a really phenomenal time. You know, through internet, social media, you can share stories and share experiences with other people, and then they learn something from you, and you're like, and you learn something from them, and you're like, okay, yeah, and that's just going to be growing exponentially in the future. And we're just at the precipice at the moment. We're really definitely just that roaring 20s of the technological age, and how it connects us and brings about healing through sharing and exchange. Yeah, over to...
Yeah, and it's instantaneous too.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, before, say, you know, in the 60s, 70s and even the 80s, you know, if I lived in Brisbane and you lived in Perth, and I was sitting at home and I was thinking, wow, I fucking love Adrian, right? I'll try and do it telepathically and hope for the best. But now I can just send you a text message and say, hey Adrian, I was thinking about you today. I love you.
Yeah.
I mean, how beautiful is that?
Absolutely.
That's the joy of technology.
Yeah.
But you know, but then we can also take it too far, and we spoke about that last time in our last podcast. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
You can just connect straight away.
Sure. And this sharing of ideas and the secrets aspect of it as well, you know, like it's going to, in the future, I think, take a lot of secrets that people have.
Yeah, you'll have no privacy.
Yeah, there won't be any such thing as privacy, And how are we gonna look at that? How are we gonna handle that at the time, do you reckon? That's the thing.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe the next generation that is born into this way of life will perhaps have a grasp on that, or accept that.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to know what I'm thinking, so I certainly don't want anyone in my head.
Yeah.
That could be a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
But
sure.
But yeah, no, I think the next generation will just perhaps be born into that.
Yeah.
And have no say in the matter, man.
Yeah.
You know?
They'll be quite comfortable in it, given they've just been immersed in it. Like kids of today's age with computers and the internet, they're just born into it, so they're totally comfortable with it. No hassle whatsoever. And yeah, like saying the future generation, when you're born into this whole new realm of openness, that they'll just be, okay, this is life, this is my reality. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it the evolution of intelligence as well? Like the available information, getting the privacy inside of it.
Yeah.
You know, is this now are we going to catapult from here?
Yeah.
You know? And having 3 kids, it's interesting to see that and to watch that on a daily basis.
Sure.
And it's quite a struggle because my wife's quite opposed to technology in some respects. She's really about, let's get the family together, we'll play we'll try and do stuff together, because in this day and age, there's no time anymore. Mind you, my old man used to always say, there's not enough hours in the day, and I just think, bullshit.
Yeah. You can make
surf for 8 hours, then what do I do?
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
You know? But yeah, so my wife's quite opposed to it. That being said, if she wants some information, it's there. You know, if she's feeling ill, I'll just go and self-diagnose and have a look on what the go is. You know, so interesting times.
Yeah, definitely. That propulsion of technology is something that's occurring as we grow and as we evolve. Technology really seems to be coming up with us.
And so are our boundaries too.
Yeah.
Boundaries just keep getting broken.
Yeah.
You know, so you see so many people who are just willing to expose themselves by using technology, whether it be making their own documentary or being on some fucked up reality TV program. Like our boundaries are really shifting, and the conversations that we have with each other with this openness and this almost like brutal honesty. So it's interesting as well, because like when we talk about boundaries and when you've got somebody, you know, we all know somebody in our lives that are like an oversharer. You know, it's when's it going to stop? You know, at what point are we going to go, actually, what is our boundaries? What really is going to be deemed inappropriate in like 10 to 15 years time when we already kind of just opened this up? Because the kids these days, what they're exposed to through television is completely different to what we were exposed to in the 80s. When I was watching Care Bears, you know, and Rainbow Bride, and you know, there was none of this, not a lot of violence and stuff like that. Definitely not. There was undercurrents of sexuality, but not as so overt now.
Do you think though that perhaps by exposing him to that violence, playing these games and so forth, that like you look at how can I put this? You look at, like, if you ever watch serial killer documentaries, they seem to have this moment in time where you know, I watched one the other night where a guy found a shiny girl shoe, and he took it home and was wearing these shoes. You know, it was like high heels or something, and his mum was like, "What are you doing with them?" and really chastised him for it. Now, I know this isn't violence as such, but because it was hidden and suppressed and pushed under, and that's a bad thing, it ended up escalating to him murdering women that wore high heels. You know, it became a fetish, and then it escalated because it wasn't something that was encouraged or was common. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Is it now that there's these computer games that the kids grow up to it, that it's the opposite of what people think might happen? They might go, "Oh, I don't need to kill someone with a gun." Like they've seen what guns do on games. So why would they then go and utilise that weapon in society?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and especially for those. Yeah, education. Yeah, especially for those who have those urges, and it sort of feeds something. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same as maybe like prostitution's been for a long time for men who've got strong sexual impulses and just need to get it out. They'll just go see a prostitute. And those who have urges for whatever, maybe killing or what have you, they can take it out in a video game, especially with virtual reality becoming, the Oculus Rift becoming something that's going to be real prevalent. You know, you'll be able to really take it out and not have to do it in public. But yeah, to go with, like you said, it doesn't even matter if you're just a passive kid and violence isn't even an issue. You will experience it in a video game, and you understand, hang on, actually it's probably not such a good idea. It's probably not such a good thing to kill a human being. Whereas in the past before video games, no one had that. I reckon a lot of, maybe actually not a lot of, there must be murderers and serial killers out there who've just killed just to see what it was like. Just to see what it's like to take a human life.
Because they have no empathy as a part of their, makeup.
But they want to experience as well. They want to experience life, the dark and the good, pushing boundaries. Yeah, and before the advent of video games, it would have been a lot more people thinking, what is it like to kill someone?
I think it's also, you know, we're getting to some hippie shit. Like, if you have, and it's not shit, that's, I'm not trying to put it down, but, you know, we all have past lives, you know, and, you know, what if it's, you know, highly likely that, you know, people who have these impulses to kill or have this fascination to kill, well, where does that come from? Is it a memory that's actually been passed down from something that you've done possibly, like, you know, in your soul? You know, our souls are infinite. What if, you know, you've experienced that in past lives?
Like you're a warrior with bloodlust.
Exactly.
It builds into your DNA or whatever, you know, it's passed on.
And imagine, you know, you've got this experience at a cellular level, like this memory, you know, in your DNA, essentially, that of, you know, when were those times where there was complete freedom and killing was just kind of part of everyday part and parcel. And now coming into this physical life where we're in a real physical life of oppression, we're bound by rules, you know, and they would have been back then too with religion and things like that, and it would have been more hefty. But you've got that cellular memory, and if it's repressed and you don't have an outlet for that, perhaps that's what we're actually seeing.
Are we only seeing more of it because we have a bigger world population though?
And because we have technology too, we have
to see it.
the news.
Yeah, see, you know, this is happening, but back in the day, they wouldn't even thought that this is happening to me. But you're thinking of things like that manifest as cancers and things like and allergies and whatever it might be, just unresponsiveness to this.
It's like
you can only look at yourself.
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, my dad was in Vietnam, and I thought, we watched war movies, you know, Platoon and Full Metal Jacket, and I still really enjoy watching them films.
Sure.
You know, Band of Brothers was a kick-ass series, but I never wanted to get a rifle and go and join the infantry.
Yeah.
Like I immersed myself in watching it, you know, and I thought, man, and I thought it was great. I didn't understand, of course, what death was or what it would be to be in their shoes, you know. But
the politics behind those things that you're watching as well. And,
absolutely, no, that's right. You know, that's the big thing, isn't it? Like, it's a funny thing, War. Obviously, we've got this thing happening now, and you know, was it happening? God, having a moment here.
In the Middle East.
Yeah, they're going to push on to Baghdad or whatever. These.
It looks like they're going back in again.
Yeah, and I've been always pretty vehemently anti-war. Like, this, you know, we don't need to do this. There's got to be another way. But in this situation that seems to be occurring now, I've actually kind of changed my way of thinking a little bit and just gone, maybe we need to go in there and help. Yeah. And that's against my my structure of who I am. My value system. That's the word.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you think you feel differently about it?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually, delved into that. But I've certainly read some news articles and just gone, no, I think maybe we need to go over there and stop this, because it's just evil in my opinion. I've tried to understand it from their point of view. Yeah. And I can't come to a understanding of why they you know, like this cultures of burying women up to their necks, stoning them because they've fallen in love with somebody. It just seems so archaic to me.
Yeah, you know? It's definitely archaic, isn't it? That's the cultural relativism needs to be put into place, though. But it's such a hard thing to do because you understand, well, this is part of their culture, but fuck me, does it need to be? Does it have to be?
That's right.
And how is the media actually manipulating those stories to get a rise out of people who are from a different culture? You know, what's the intent?
The media love it, though, don't they?
Yeah, what's the intent of sharing these particular stories? And from a human point of view, like, you know, empathy. You know, we hear these stories and I think, oh my God, you know, I've got so much gratitude that I have this freedom as a woman in the country that I live in. You know, thank God, you know. But if the intent behind it incites feelings of rage or hate against other cultures, you know, that's, I think, where it's like, ooh, is it helpful? You know, if we come at it from a place of compassion, which is where you're coming from, you know, it's not about that you hate the religion so far. It's about, hey, people are being treated really unfairly and they don't have rights. But if that compassion then turns into, you know, a hatred for a religion, or, you know, or making assumptions about that's exactly what's going on with everybody over there, that's where I think the media has a real key role in us flicking that switch.
Yeah, you're right. And do they want you to hate Muslims because then it feeds the system, you know? Yeah, it's interesting. I have friends that are Muslim that I train with, and they're the first people to post like on social media about how devastated they are that their fellow Muslims are doing this stuff.
Yeah, right.
That keeps bringing a bad name.
I can't believe this is happening. And
I picked up a refugee once. He came. I was closing out my shop that I was working at, and he came up and said, and he could hardly speak English. He was just fresh off the boat, refugee, and said, I'm lost. I can't find this place. And I thought, man, you're like a long way away.
Yeah, right.
And I looked at my wife and said, I'm going to put him in the back next to me. My wife was like, yeah, cool. So you jump in, man, I'll take you there. And he was so timid. He was shaking, like he had no idea where I was going to take him. And I'm coming from a place of love for my brother, man. Like, I'm going to take you there, man. I'm going to take you, you know, to where you need to go. Because I couldn't imagine that. I couldn't be that guy that said, right, you're going to have to walk 50 minutes this way, and then when you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to drive him. But when he got out, the tension, like when he saw his mate that was waiting for him, the tension just melted off his face, and it was like a connection was made. It was priceless, mate. You know.
Sure.
And he's of a different religion, and I loathe religion. I make no bones about saying it. I don't care who's listening and says, "Oh, that's bad attitude" or whatever. I just think it's done nothing but evil, really.
Sure.
To mankind.
No doubt about it. Have you looked into Gnosticism?
No, yes and no.
Yeah.
I understand the premise of it, but
I think you're at about the same stage as me too. Yeah, know a bit about it, but I want to look into it further. But going back to what you said, I mean, the media and what SJ is, or you spoke about, the media do definitely play a part in our understandings of other human beings and other cultures. And a lot of them, especially ones driven by money, driven by the dollar, seem to be the worst ones for it. Even so far as they'll even do the reverse for money, like there's that Amber Lyons scandal when she was working for CNN, and she reported unfavourably on the Bahraini government. This story, you know, she dug deep, you know, risked her life to get it, and then CNN pulled the story, just didn't show it. And it turned out that the Bahrain government had been paying CNN to make sure they do good news stories on it, right? So she fucking quit. So you've got that, but on the flip side, you have what I thought one of the best things I think I've ever watched was when SBS did that show, Go Back to Where You Came From.
Oh, where they relived
where they went it through the perspective, going back the other way through a Western perspective. And I was like, fuck yeah, SBS. That's exactly what we need. We needed a program like that. Because I have to admit, I still have my prejudices, and more or less more like, you know, we're all one global community and we should be looking after each other. But I still have just these touch of prejudices there that was influenced by my interactions with media and other people, like bigots, you know, and things like that. And so I still had a part of me. But after watching that, I was like, fuck yeah, it's got a whole new understanding. And now I studied sociology as well at uni, and the unit we did last year was on refugees and violence. It's refugees, fear and violence, the unit was called. It was the most depressing unit I've ever done in my life. We all just come out of it. By the time the unit finished, we were all just like, oh, thank fuck that was over. But it was really interesting.
We have to be very thankful for the internet, because we grew up in a small town. It was a fishing town, and I think when I was born, there was 8,000 people there. Now there's
really?
100,000 something plus people there, right?
Yeah, shit.
And it's a crazy melting pot of people, but we have to be thankful for the internet, because when you're surrounded by in a small town by smaller groups of people, I was quite very ashamed to say it, but we used to play pranks on the Chinese restaurant. It was behind our school. We used to do all sorts of funny. Well, I thought they were funny at the time. Now I look back and I'm really ashamed of how we treated them. It was really just blatantly racist. But if it wasn't for the internet, maybe I'd still be within that small-minded group of ideals. But I'm sure that everyone that was with me have changed too. We were only kids, or 10 years old, you know, whatever age we were. But I think, definitely that's, you know, it's facilitated that. That it was education. It's educating me. That it was an education of, oh, hang on a minute. No, this is not right. There's other ways to.
I think you would have got there eventually. I think what the internet does, it just helps amplify that a little bit, and that learning just comes about quicker, especially for children now, you know, which we didn't have. But you eventually would have got there. Just the internet just helps facilitate that much more quickly. And
I think for me, learning, I'm very visual. So like, if I read a text, like we're doing atomic theory now. I'm talking to you about. And I haven't done it since, you know, high school. So I'm doing this course at uni. And I'm doing atomic theory, and I can't read the text and understand it. I have to jump on YouTube, find some awesome chemist that can write a song or something about how it all works, and then watch it and go, okay, now I get it. You know, so for me, with the internet being a visual media, really, you know, you're looking at it, you're able to, you know, watch videos and film and stuff on there as well as read text. That definitely helps me anyway.
But that's, I mean, everyone learns differently, don't they? And I think maybe that's why we really get a lot of benefit out of podcasts, you know, watching podcasts. Especially, I like to really watch and I love interacting. I love listening to people and talking to people and learning about their stories on a normal level. So like podcasts for me are just a technological extension of that. So I can do it because I just love listening to people and love talking to them. But I can't do it all the time because I'm always going something there. But the internet allows for those times where I feel that need to learn about someone or learn about someone's experiences. I can just type it in, cool, watch this for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever. And it's such a benefit. It's been such a benefit to my learning, my understanding.
Same, man. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for
no doubt about it. We wouldn't be talking about the subjects we're talking about if it wasn't for the podcast, probably.
No, that's correct. But you wouldn't be here. You might be visiting SJ, but you wouldn't be here.
No.
Like we didn't really socialise at school.
No.
You know, I can't even think back to school. My memory's pretty cloudy from
Yeah,
those times.
I
But
have to admit, me too. Yeah.
I'm thinking, what classes do I ever have a class with Adrian?
Yeah.
What do we do together? You know, I'm thinking these things, but yeah.
Two completely different people though. Each of us, we're totally different now compared to what we were.
Oh yeah,
that age.
yeah. I'm quite embarrassed about not embarrassed. Like, yeah, in some ways I'm embarrassed about certain aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Things I've done.
Same here.
And shameful as well. You know, but also we were talking about that earlier. You shouldn't be
No.
because it builds who you are, and
Yeah.
it's really it's just a learning thing. You know.
Yeah. It sounds like you've learnt from your things, and I'm sure I have, and SJ as well. You know, those mistakes you make when you're younger, and
Yeah.
things you do wrong.
I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that these people, you get pulled together, don't you?
Mm.
Like, you know, you can call it synchronicity or
Destiny. fate.
destiny or whatever you want to call it, but maybe it's just the fact, maybe that doesn't exist. Maybe we're just the same kind of people.
Yeah.
We have
On
the
an
same
energetic
interests.
level. Yeah. And you're going to draw together those energies. Really. This is going into woo-woo thing, but that's what happens. You know, like you emit a certain energy, and then through whatever realm, you just manage to pick up on that person, and they become friends.
Yeah, that's what they call it, chemistry. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
atoms
it's
bonding.
all- yeah,
I'm going to
exactly.
pull this atom to me and we're
Yeah.
going to bond and we're going to have a chemical reaction.
Definitely.
Maybe that, I've just never thought of that before.
Yeah.
The idea of chemistry, that's
Yeah.
what I'm actually pertaining to.
But yeah, it's chemistry
I've learned
between two people. Like, yeah, when you first see someone and you're like, oh fuck, I really like you, or whether it's lust or whatever it might be, that's a chemical reaction between two energies that are supposed to be together. But the great benefit is now, like, and again, speaking about technology, that also happens through technology as well. We don't have to have that. You live on the other side of the country to me, but we just form this bond through the fucking internet, through ones and zeros. But then maybe that's all the universe is anyways, ones and zeros, and the internet is just a little twist on that. It's a different frequency on those ones and zeros.
Freaking me out now, man.
You know, and we're just there's no choice. Whatever form of communication we have, whatever form of presence we have around someone else, it's just another form of ones and zeros. And of course, we're going to tune to someone else's ones and zeros.
We just like each other's music.
Yeah, we're just like each other's music.
We're on the same,
Yeah.
you know, we're tuned into the same radio station.
Yeah.
You know. But my experience is a little different. I'm not a huge fan of technology, and I avoided having the internet for as long as I possibly could. And but that was because I was working in a really big corporate job and I was in front of a computer, you know, 10, 12 hours a day. And the thought of me going home and sitting in front of another box, I was just like, oh, there's no way hell I wouldn't do that. And I'm terrible with technology. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. It's like, I feel like I don't have space for it in my mind. I have no idea how to burn a DVD. I've got no idea about any of it. But, you know, that's why I have people like you in my life. But, yeah, so I've kind of developed my own kind of worldly view, kind of without the internet. It's kind of, you know, it's quite...
I've kind of been the
It's quite
same though, because I didn't have a
interesting,
mobile phone until 2 years ago. And I was in
Yeah.
management, and I'd have people
Yeah.
come and try and poach me for jobs, you know, and they'd,
Yeah.
oh, do you want to come work for my company? And what's your mobile? I don't have one. Oh, you're lying. You're a management. Manager's got to have a mobile.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, I don't have a mobile.
Yeah.
Only because Jimi Hendrix didn't like the phone, and I thought Jimi Hendrix was cool, and I wouldn't have a phone either.
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm joking. No, I just didn't have one because I didn't feel like I needed to have one. If it wasn't here to here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got into photography
Yeah.
that I had to start using processing programs, and then I started having an interest in the computer, and then I wanted to start looking up, well, how do I do this, or how do I make a long exposure, and that information was available, so I learnt to love it.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I said earlier, my wife hasn't perhaps learned to love it yet, and maybe never will, and maybe she's fully analog, and that's cool. You know.
It's about balance, though. I
Yeah,
think we
exactly
need,
what I was going to say. We need to have
people
both.
like us, you know, to keep you guys in reality, you
Yeah.
know, because it's really easy to become so ingrained, and it's, you know, because information's magnetic, you know, so, and you see it so many times where these couples are just so engrossed in what they're doing, like, you know, being really chained to the internet or the TV or something like that. So I think we need people like, you know, myself and your wife to keep that balance, to say, hey, snap out of it. Remember, this
she does
this
that.
physical world.
Sure.
We're here. Touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's
it-
fair
I think
too,
it's
and that's
important.
right.
The ultimate though is to have that in yourself. Is to have that balance within yourself. I think technology is just a tool, really. Well,
escapism sometimes.
Have you heard that saying too, where the human beings are the reproductive organs of technology? Like we're actually owned by technology, and where it's genitals, and we're procreating just to keep improving technology itself and evolving technology. Technology is using us, which to see that it's definitely a possibility as well. You know, to a point that technology just overtakes us, or we occur in that singularity, that Ray Kurzweil notion of singularity, where technology and matter become one and the same.
Well, that's when definitely you need people.
We're on a bit of a tangent now. I can't remember what I was talking about.
I can't discount
technology. Finding balance in that. Yeah.
You can't discount anything. Like someone will hear that and go, "Man, that's crazy." You know?
Yeah.
What?
It sounds crazy.
Technology came from humans.
Yeah.
Humans didn't come from technology.
Yeah.
But how do you prove that?
Exactly.
And you never will.
Sure.
We'll
So might as well
never
just
find
be
it.
open to it. Open to every possibility.
That's right. That's the way to live. Closed-mindedness is not a very intelligent way to spend your time.
No, not at all. It's not a good way to have this human experience by being closed-minded. Yeah.
It goes back to religion for me. It's just like you're just shutting doors off.
Sure.
It's just faith. I'm not going to open that door to.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to close off carbon dating. You know, I can't. My priest said that, gave me some spiel for an hour about how that's bullshit, and I believe it now.
Sure.
You know, that's what that sickens me.
Yeah.
How can you be? And I see so many intelligent people that fall into that. How can you're so intelligent, you know? How can you be governed by that? Oh, yeah, it amazes me.
Searching for something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, isn't it? You know,
and they need that comfort.
Yeah.
Because religion gives them that comfort.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we could kind of flip our perspective and look at people who are highly intelligent and really gravitate towards religion. But, you know, in a way, they're gravitating almost to the right thing. They're recognizing that there's something bigger than me in terms of, you know, whether it be nature, spirit, you know, our energy body. You know, there is something out there that is bigger than me, bigger than my ego. So in a way, like, if people who gravitate towards religion on their own, you know, like not as a byproduct of being raised and things like that, who gravitate towards it, it's like, you know, you're almost there.
Yeah.
You know, like
You've got the right idea.
You've got the right idea.
But
you've got the right idea.
You're looking the wrong way.
Exactly. But that's also a result of programming too. We look for structure. We look for something where we're going to have rules to follow.
Yeah.
Which is why I like the DMT experience, because it blows that away.
Oh,
there is no structure.
No.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
You're on a rocket ship and you're learning.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's really going within yourself to discover that.
If you're doing it in a certain setting and for the right purposes, if you're just doing it to get high, well, you're going to miss those poignant facts.
Sure.
You know, we talked about that earlier with what happened with me when I was unwittingly ingesting DMT.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I was I smoked weed for many years, and I decided to have an abstinence from it. Yeah. So I wasn't smoking. I was just doing my thing. Pretty much right deep into just my jiu-jitsu at that time, trying to get clean, didn't want any smoke in me and whatever. So I was mowing the lawn, and I had quite a big property I was mowing, and a friend of mine had come over, and he was a psychonaut. He certainly wasn't having an abstinence from anything. He rolled this spliff, which was this big, and this round upstairs, and I was downstairs, but I didn't see what he was doing. Yeah. And within that weed was acacia that he rolled into it. And of course he's lit it up and smoked it, and my wife was inside, and I'd made a pledge to her that I won't smoke. So I'm like, can I see you? No, she can't see me. Chuck it down, mate. So I had this spliff in my mouth for a long time. Yeah. Like I really bogarted the joint, as I've said before. And then I was kind of blasted into another realm, but not really. Not like you've experienced it, because you're the setting, or you had a preconceived idea of what you were doing. I had no idea. I just thought it was weed. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was hallucinating that I went, what was that? And my friend said, oh, you just smoked DMT. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. I thought actually, I never really even thought about it. I didn't really have any idea of what it was, or didn't know what it was. Or,
you know. So what were you doing? Still just in the front yard?
Yeah, just mowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And what came to you? What feeling?
Well, it was I thought, oh man, I haven't drilled for so long that it's blown me away.
Yeah.
That's really where my head was at, but I knew that it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
And I had done it.
Something was different.
Yeah, I hadn't done acid, and had done acid, should I say, before that, and certain other things that I've experimented with, of course, as you do, and it was definitely different, but it wasn't like the rocket ship ride. There was no machine elves or anything like that. It was just quite visual hallucinations.
Yeah.
You know, and it did last. Like a lot of people say, oh, they only got 15 minutes. For me, it seemed maybe the time changed. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe time changed because I remember going inside and watching the wall like pulsating, and that's when I sort of went, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah. I think the marijuana would just kept that experience going for you longer than just normal
maybe,
DMT experience. Just helped you in that state.
Don't know. Don't know, but I'll know when I do ayahuasca. Like when I finally get a chance to get the moment in time that's the right time to do it. Yeah. That's when I'll know. Maybe I won't. Maybe it won't show me anything.
Yeah.
I'm prepared for that.
Yeah. Oh, maybe not first up or second up, but you'll get it eventually when you need it. Yeah, I think ayahuasca will really just help you get a really good understanding of that experience you had with that, just mowing the lawn, what was happening, what's going on. And you'll be like, when you do ayahuasca, so the benefit is now you've had that, you'll do ayahuasca and you'll be like, okay, I know this. I know where I am. I've been here before.
Yeah. See what happens with that. But what was very interesting was that was the other thing that we were talking about was in my youth I had these what they call children's migraines, where I didn't have a name for it. Basically what I would do is I'd see a figure. It started off probably at 4 or 5 and I had this figure, and anyway the DMT, I realised there was a correlation between what I'd had that day and something that had happened in my past that I'd buried.
When you were a little kid?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bury it because it was super traumatic. It wasn't fun by any stretch of the imagination.
So what was going on? What did you see?
People used to say to me, like in our teens, oh, do you want to come tripping, come take some acid? And I'd go, guys, I've tripped harder than you'll ever trip. I'm not touching it. Yeah. Because I've already tripped balls, man. Like you got no idea. Yeah. And I really, really had. I had these most intense psychedelic experiences. Yeah. Well, things would happen like my door would grow really large, and I'd watch it growing from my bed. Yeah. And my parents would say, you're under the covers and you're really hot. So I'd always had this heat, this intense body heat was involved, and they'd put me outside in the cool, and eventually I'd come out of the experience. But things would be like balloons would pop out of my PowerPoint. Right. Imagine like a movie, in colour, full colour. The room had got this really large size, and I'm a 6-year-old kid in bed. Yeah. My bed would always feel really hard, like I was lying on cold steel. Right. And these balloons would go pop, and float out, and I'd see one come, and I'd go, oh fuck, and then they'd go pop, and it would float out. And just thinking about it now is bringing the feeling on. Yeah. And then it would go pop, 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 and I just fill the room up until I've got rubber, whatever balloons are made out of, pushing up and suffocating me, and I can't get out of the balloons. Shit. But I'm awake. I'm not asleep. This is not a dream. This is I'm awake. Yeah. So I'd be like, help me, and my parents would come in and say, oh God, he's having this thing again. Yeah. Another one I'd have was my dad was in a box, and all these men were in boxes, and they'd go through like a big electric machine, and it would electrocute them in front of me. I'd watch that. Right. Another one was I'd see these cliffs, huge cliffs, and I'm in this top, and I'm looking at this tiny little sailboat, right, like in between these cliffs, and it's dark and stormy. And then I'd be in the boat, and there'd be this man in a lumber jacket, like with a beard, and this tiny little frail girl. And it was almost like she was the feeling of cotton, like a strand of cotton, right? I can't touch cotton these days without going, oh shit, like a strand of cotton. And then suddenly he'd look at her, and then all the rocks would start falling on the ship, right? And they'd die, right? But I'm there, I'm in it. Yeah. Or I'd go to my mum's room and say, hey, something's wrong, and they would speak like a million miles an hour. Yeah. Like their language was just, and I'm like, oh, you're talking really fast, but they didn't get that. And then I'd have a man that would come. This is the poignant thing, and this seems to be an occurring thing for a lot of people. I've done some research into this. This seems to pop up in all cultures and all continents. Of this man that I call Zeus, and I've heard other people call him Zeus that I don't know. And he was basically a 7-foot god in a black hood and a black robe. And I would see him in my room. There's one particular house he was in, and he'd berate me. He'd be like, "You're nothing. You're going to be nothing, and I'm going to take your soul," or whatever he said. I can't put it into words. There's no words.
How old were you when you first started coming?
Well, I was in year 1 then.
Okay.
So So I remember we rented this house before my parents bought their house. I would have been a new one.
Right.
So this guy would visit, and I would get under my blankets and hide from him, but see him through the blankets. Right.
Yeah.
So he'd be there. And one day, and this is the DMT experience. This is the correlation. He took his hood off, and it wasn't like light filled the room like an angel or anything. He just took his hood off, and he said like, and this feeling just flushed over me of pure joy and bliss, like maybe what people explain like DMT is like, and having done MDMA and LSD and all sorts of things that I've done, I've never had that feeling. It's never been anywhere near as beautiful as what I felt that night.
Sure.
And this feeling went, like this thing washed over me. He's like, you're a good soul and you're gonna have a killer life, dude. And not those words, and it was love. It was pure love.
Yeah.
And then he went, and I never saw him again.
Right. How many times did he come to you?
I'm going back 20 something years. So I don't know.
So do you think he was testing you, or putting you through a test?
No, I haven't figured it out. But I was taking the psychologist, I had brain tumour tests. I had the jelly put on my head and
really?
Scratching the paper. I was stripped naked and they tested me, the whole physiology of me. And the word, maybe I stuffed that up there. I was put through the ringer and they said, kids get this. It's called children's migraines. We don't know what it is. But I had many friends that have had it too. And now here's the interesting thing. One thing is I looked after a little girl with my ex-partner one night, and she wasn't she didn't have an evil experience. She had a children's migraine, but she was like in happy land, man. And she was awake and she's like, the cupcakes everywhere, Tim. They're flying around. It's beautiful. You got to see it. I feel amazing. And we're like looking at each other like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And she's
possessed.
She was feeling good. Like something was washing over her. And they say it comes from the pineal gland. We discussed in other podcasts.
Where DMT is created in the pineal gland, and it allows you to open up into something cool, something to open to you.
Yeah. Like, is it the spirit molecule? It's very interesting. But what's more interesting is I have twin boys, and they get children's migraines, right? So now here's the thing: they're in separate rooms. One will get one, and the other one will get one at the exact same second. So you hear one scream out, and the other one will scream out, ah! Right. And they don't know where they are. You can pick them up, but you're not there. Like they don't know that you're there. You know what I mean? Or if they do and they're slightly coherent, they'll be like, "Help me, Dad, help me!" Like they're in another realm. Super frightening. But what I find interesting in being twins is that they have it simultaneously. Now, it couldn't be a food that they've eaten, but on a molecular level, would it trigger that response at the same time? I don't think so. No. Would they then have to eat the food at the same time and digest it, or what they'd eaten previously?
Sure.
I don't know what they're...
Be in the same positions the whole time, and
you know.
Be too much.
I don't think there's any way to test it.
No.
Hopefully, with these, they're doing the study on rats now. You know, they found DMT in the pineal gland of live rats. Obviously, this has a very short half-life, I believe it is. It breaks down very quickly, DMT. So.
And we should add DMT is a chemical in the brain that creates dreams as well. So what we're experiencing, what you're talking about, is really an extension of a dream state. You know, you're going into another part of this multiverse that DMT is created for you. Yeah, but it's really interesting. Watch and read DMT, the Spirit Molecule, if you get a chance. Fascinating.
And I find it in history that it's occurred, that people have had this, like Sid Barrett, Pink Floyd, they wrote the song "Comfortably Numb" about him, right?
Oh, that song.
I think it's about him. I'll double check this.
Yeah.
And the lyric in it is, when I was a child, I had a fever and my hands felt like two balloons. That is the feeling I have, and I get it now. So if I ever put my hands under my pillow and sleep, my hands, and I feel like, because I still get these things, they come on.
Do they, right?
Very rarely, very rarely. My hands will feel like balloons.
Right.
Like I couldn't touch you. Balloons seem to be prevalent, that rubbery feeling, I don't know what it is. But and it's like, okay, I had a fever, I was feverish, and my hands always felt like balloons. Like maybe he talked about this to them, and they wrote the song about him, you know, in one of his crazed maniacal states. I don't know.
So how have you used? How do you think you've used it? Like your experience as a child, and then your experiences since then as well.
I have no fear of death.
You have no fear? Yeah.
I don't have a fear of death. Like this guy's come to me and said, it's all cool. Yeah. And it kind of feels like that was very poignant, and it's carried on to my adulthood, and it made me be I live I lived pretty hard. Like my youth was pretty hard. I lived pretty hard, and it followed on into my 20s, and because I just didn't care about being radical. Like I didn't care that it was what I was doing was stupid or radical. Like because it didn't matter.
Sure.
You know.
That's really explained a lot to me. Like I remembering you as a kid, like when we were teenagers. What you've said now really explains a lot about the way you were.
Maybe,
yeah, definitely. It's really interesting.
I don't judge anyone as they were when I knew them in youth. There's one or two guys that I just won't ever get along with, and I just don't like who they are now as well as what they were like then.
Sure.
But I never would look at someone from that time period and go, oh, she's a dickhead or he's a dickhead because how he carried on then, behaved, you know.
Yeah.
Mostly because I was a fool. I went to a concert once. It was a big day out 20 years ago or whatever, and all my friends dropped acid. I drank a bottle of Cougar in the bus on the way there, and we went and saw a fortune teller. And then we're all at this market in Fremantle, and I've gone to this fortune teller. I said, "Pull my card, love." You know, he chucked some money on the table. We're all smart ass, and she pulled the full card out.
Right, really?
Yeah, and she didn't pick. I don't know if she knew where it was. I can't remember if she shuffled it, but she pulled the full card out. Right.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily believe this stuff. I can tell you a cool story about another time I had my tarot read, which has all come true.
Please do. Yeah.
But when she pulled that full card out, I just went, oh man, that was another poignant moment in my life. It's like, pull your fucking head in. Like, she was really saying to me, it was 95, big day out, so we're 15.
Okay. Yeah.
15. I was going to raves when I was 13, mate.
Yeah.
I was sneaking, like telling my mum I was staying at this guy's house and going, this is stupid. That's what I mean. Like, you know, I was foolish. It was foolish. I have 12-year-old boys, man. If they were going to raves and doing nitrous oxide and shit at 13, I'd die.
Yeah.
It's just not right, you know.
Sure.
But that's life. That's the experience of life. You know, I hear stories of 7 or 8 year olds that are living that life now. Like that kid we were talking about earlier, who got one of those drains in the city in Europe. You watched the documentary. He's HIV positive, and you know, it makes our lives and what we did look insignificant to that.
Just what have we got to whinge about, you know?
Yeah.
I haven't really shared this on the podcast. I don't think I've spoken to you about it. I've spoken to SJ about it, but I've had only one circumstance of that happening to me, and it was the most profound thing that's happened to me in my life. And it was when I was down in Bridgetown. I was camping down there, and a friend had this yurt, a Mongolian yurt, and she built some decking around it like this. And I went and slept outside, just in my sleeping bag one night. And the two girls slept in the yurt. It was a bit cold, but I was like, oh fuck, it's so nice out here tonight. I just couldn't get to sleep this night. I remember I just felt charged. I felt really charged. It was full moon as well. Not that I necessarily believe in the power of full moon. I don't know, but after this night, that's probably changed. But I finally got to sleep about 2 o'clock, and I started lucid dreaming. Then I was back in Perth. I was like, oh fuck, I'm having a lucid dream here. I'm gonna see what I can do.
So you were recognise you were inside the dream.
Yeah, I recognised I was inside this dream.
And carried on.
Yeah.
Inside the dream.
Carried inside the dream, but I don't know where I was, because what happened next is I was on my side in my sleeping bag like this, and this thing came and poked me in the arm, and I sort of woke up thinking, oh fuck, it's an animal. And I went to like brush it off, and then it was this female's arm, and I grabbed hold of it like this, and I thought it must have been one of my 2 female friends in the yurt. But I looked up at her, and it was this completely different woman, this woman I've never seen before. I'm looking, I'm going, what the fuck, you know? And I was like trying to. She just had this big smile on her face, and she's wearing this. I'll never forget this dress, this layered, light dress, you know, about sort of 3/4 length up her arms, and it was like something that was like mystical. This mystical dress, you know, and everything was green. Everything had this green tinge to it as well. And but I wasn't thinking about anything except for what the fuck at that moment. I'm trying to go, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Who are you? I couldn't talk, I was like paralysed. And she just said, stop trying to talk. And I was like, okay, I sort of relaxed a little bit. And I finally, I don't know if I got it out telepathically or verbally, I said, what's your name? She just smiled at me and just said, my name's Auntie Charmaine, sweetie. That was a big smile on her face. I was like, okay. And then she came around to where my head was, and she put me onto my back. So I was on my side. She just put me onto my back and held my head in her arms like that. And I closed my eyes. And my whole body started convulsing and twitching. I was like flailing around inside my sleeping bag, like doom, doom, doom. And that lasted for about 15 seconds. And I looked up at her and I said, I'm nervous. And she just looked at me and she said, interesting. Like, she was surprised that I was nervous. She was like, interesting. You're nervous. And I was like, and then she rolled me on my side and she put her two fingers and a thumb, like a bowling ball, and put them on the back of my neck. And as I was on my side, all the muscles in the back of my neck started twitching and convulsing for again about 15 seconds, and then there's one big convulsion, and then that was it. And she was gone, and I'm just laying there like, what the fuck was that? Yeah.
How did you learn from that? Like, actually, save that. You guys talk. I need to go for a piss.
Yeah.
Do you want a beer?
I love one, thanks mate.
All right. I'll be back. Keep talking.
Yeah. So I'm just standing there and, or laying there I should say, and had a bit of a sook, I have to admit. I was like,
Release.
had a big cry. Like, it was like, fuck, that was the most intense, amazing thing that's ever happened to me. I'm trying to comprehend it. Like, what the hell was that? And then I was like, fuck, did I just dream that? But then I was like, but I've never had a dream where I've actually dreamt from the position I'm actually in this physical world. So yeah, but it was like, it wasn't a dream or it wasn't reality. It was somewhere else, or somewhere in between, or somewhere further than a dream state. But I really, since learning more about DMT and things like that, I really just think it was, that ability of, at that point in time, for my pineal gland to release just this coping, maybe it's something to do with the full moon or what I ate that night, and a combination of things, but this massive release of DMT which opened up something that I could connect with, and then this Auntie Charmaine could connect into me.
And it's the ultimate love, isn't it? I mean, it's the expression of love. I mean, from that, you describing that to me, it sounds like a healing. You know, because we've got trauma points in our body, like energy points. So like, for example, here, like in people who've experienced trauma, particularly during childhood, if you press these 2 points here, and they're a little tender, that's your TMJ, and we store a lot of trauma in here. And so, you know, a good exercise is just to sit and have pressure on that point with your mouth open.
Really? Okay.
And just find the point where it's tender.
Yeah.
And also another trauma point, which is connected to the TMJ, is behind the neck.
Okay.
Right. So I think it's interesting that she had those points on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
So that may be where your trauma in your cells were stored.
Yeah. Okay.
And she's just released that.
Sure.
Because another thing I get my clients to do when they're on the bed, if they've got trauma, is they hold the back of their necks like this and they just push their head down.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a trauma point as well. So it's wherever you have, I suppose wherever it's tender is where you've got the most stuff kind of stored. So that makes total sense to me.
Right.
That's, you know,
sure.
what you would have done. Unlocking, it's that epigenetics.
Yeah.
It's the gene in you that she's unlocked, and as a result of that, you raise your vibration because you let go.
That was a defining moment in my life.
Your vibration changed.
Since then.
And then it's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
You know, so
that makes sense, because I for a long time I thought if what it was a healing, that she's clearing my throat chakra, I thought. But then I thought, isn't that, I mean, she's done it from the back there, so maybe it's still related, but I've always thought if she's going to do it, wouldn't she have done it from the front? That seems like a common, it shouldn't really matter though, but maybe like it is what you said, that it was this muscle tension or there's something involved within that part of my body, and she just went directly for it and just got rid of it. Yeah.
You need a drink, you right?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You've been reflecting on, you know, times of stress in your life, or think about where does my body hold pain?
Yeah.
You know, and if it is, you know, if it's in the neck, if it's in the shoulder, for example.
Sure.
So I hold a lot of my tension in my shoulder here, and that's also a stomach meridian.
Okay.
So, you know, that's about emotions. Possibly I'm not swallowing.
Yeah.
So it's about getting in check and going, well, what's my digestion like?
Yeah.
If I'm holding this pressure here, my body's telling me this needs attention.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we're all, I mean, we were talking about this before, we're all machines. You know, the body, we're an electric machine, essentially.
Yeah.
And we're all wired, you know. So, with allopathic medicine, it's kind of like, you know, they ignore our wiring in a way. That's why Chinese medicine is so powerful, because it's all about the meridian lines in the body. You know, acupuncture. I've seen phenomenal things with acupuncture and really getting those energy blocks unblocked. And I've experienced acupuncture for myself. And, you know, I remember she put the needle point in my stomach meridian, which is just on your calf here. And she put the needle in, and then all of a sudden I got this rush of energy, and it went down to my foot went numb, and then it shot up all through my leg. And I just felt like this charge in my leg. And, you know, I hadn't gone there because I was sad or anything like that. I'd gone there to help my digestion because I just lost my appetite. And, and felt hungry straight away. But then I just burst into tears and I had no idea why I was crying. No idea. And that, you know, the therapist was like, it's okay. This happens all the time. I was like, I have no idea why I'm crying. I'm just crying, but it feels really good. You know? But that's where I hold. That's where my body holds my tension. Is in my stomach, my digestion. So that's my nurture point.
Yeah.
You know, so I think when we understand our nurture points, because we're energetic beings, we understand our nurture point, it tells us a lot about our vibration and, you know, the points of attention. So your body will bring it to your attention, definitely. So it sounds to me totally like you had a healing. You know, you accessed that part of you, you recognised that you were ready to let that trauma go, and you did it in a way that was very safe for you. Because you're verbalising it through your throat, screaming or whatever, but you weren't ready to say the words or the toxicity of those words, but you just did it in another way.
Sure. So that was my soul, my spirit, my higher self's way of expelling that, was through creating this thing. Because I have to admit, this woman did look like a girl I used to live with, and like looked similar. It wasn't exactly like, but looked similar. I thought, oh, is that Sally? No, what? And then then she called herself Auntie Charmaine, which Charmaine is my sister's name. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, it goes back to the whole, goes back to the DMT thing of like, is it real? Like, are we really blasted into another dimension or is it just, does it matter? It doesn't matter that you...
Is it just our imagination? Something from
either way, the effect, the result is exactly the same.
Exactly right.
And it's exactly what you experienced there in some respects.
My life
doesn't matter if it was a real person or not. You gain something from that.
Exactly. So
it's like chiropractic. Like my old neighbour is a chiropractor, and I've got scoliosis. I've got a slipped disc in my back, and I go through periods where I can hardly even walk.
Right.
And being an athlete who loves beer, being a semi-athlete.
Oh, you mean you're a human?
Yeah. I get it to fix me up.
Right.
Like, I can be doubled over like an old man and hardly able to walk. And I'll just go see her, and after 10 minutes, I go home and she's fixed me. Now, whether or not, and I've got friends that are super intelligent, you know, one guy in particular who just thinks it's all poo-poo, and he'll show you why it's bullshit and it doesn't work and it's quasi-science or whatever. But for me, like, you can keep those ideas because it works and it's all I care about, man.
Sure.
It stops the pain and it's not codeine or some fucking other drug that I have to take. Happy as.
Yeah. So even if it is a placebo, it doesn't matter.
There's a lot to be said for placebo.
There's a lot to be said for it, yeah, definitely. I think that's been proven, hasn't it, too? Haven't they done stuff with that?
Yeah.
I haven't read too much into it, but just things I've seen, it has been proven.
Yeah.
The state, you know, of the psychological
cancers
really
that have been cured and they've not had anything but like iodine or whatever given to them, which is not going to affect it or whatever. I've read certain things about that. But
sure.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, is Chinese medicine placebo?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think what puts a lot of people off is they hear about, this guy took tiger's balls or he used rhino horn, and then Western guys go, well, that's fucked. You can't kill tigers.
Sure.
And that's such a small part of
but that's
Chinese medicine. That's what's reported.
That's right. You don't hear anything else about it because they don't want you to know about Chinese medicine because the whole farm industry is driven off you ignoring those other options. You know?
Sure. Yeah, there's standard Western.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical. Yeah.
And that's a hard thing with going to university or whatever. You're kind of forced to report or believe in the doctrines. I'll tell you at the beginning you're not. Oh, you got to make your own.
Tim.
You got to make your own decisions.
It's a massive issue. I know.
It's wrong, and so is referencing. Fuck referencing.
Yeah.
Like,
referencing.
It's just money.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on.
Referencing.
Yeah, let's just get to the point.
Yeah.
Like, let's learn shit.
But the thing is, we all plagiarize. We you know, the language we use, we were
Oh,
taught.
all the shit I'm sprouting, except for my personal experiences, is shit that I'm copying from other people I've listened to
Absolutely.
already. That's all it is.
But that other person that listens to this might not have heard that.
Exactly
They need
right.
to hear it through you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you become a teacher.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of meme sharing, you know, just memes as
Yeah.
ideas, just sharing that.
Yeah.
When we were talking about right at the beginning, like how important that is to do and how, what a great role technology has in being able to facilitate that. So important.
I struggled at uni a lot because I sit in class and I'm doing biology and biochemistry, and and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, fuck, so much ego in science. You know, everything has a name for everything. We have to name everything. We always have to be the name of our disease, or
It has to be reduced.
yeah,
Constantly reduced.
and it's like I'm constantly facing my own cognitive dissonance every time I go to uni. And I'm taught the science.
Yeah.
Because I know on a logical level I need to understand the science and I need to understand the body. But it's like you have to have this faith that the science is right. Because I've also got my own perspective and my own abilities and my own knowledge of how I interact with people too. And sometimes it goes completely against what I'm learning. At uni.
Really? Yeah.
And I would sit there at uni and I'll go, bullshit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, as long as you can
Yeah.
you can show that you understand that information,
Well,
you
I'm
can
gonna
reference
have
that
that
information
piece
and
of
you
paper.
can do it on an exam.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they give a shit about. Who
Yeah.
cares? You go outside of that, you get your degree and you go and change the world your own way.
Do it exactly right, Tim.
You're
Yeah.
gonna have to be a part of that
Yeah.
system, you know?
But it does give you the tools you need for the skeptics that are going to come in.
That's good. That's a
your
good
life.
way to look at it. Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So so the type of modality I want to practice is probably considered by skeptics a little wacky, a little out there, and that's cool. But but I can also, for those people who come to me who have that level of skepticism, I can talk their language if they're throwing science at me.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. I don't have fear about that.
You've got a good grounding in their strengths and what they really do, so you'll be able to then better justify, or not justify, but stand up for
I can speak
yourself.
their language.
Yeah.
I can
That's like
speak their
Bible
language.
study, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like you learn a Bible so you can
Yeah.
you can counteract everything, single
Sure.
thing that someone throws at you.
Well, I saw Duncan Trussell. He was talking on the last podcast with the two guys who did the holodeck thing, and he was saying his favourite book is the Bible. He fucking loves it, but he detests religion. He fucking hates religion. I was playing that little clip about the priesthood and how it's stymieing magic and things like that. But he also understands that way of being and that state of being and that little cultural reference through his love of the Bible. He uses the Bible as a tool to really understand those people, but he does his own thing over here.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
it's
saying you can't
really
be
important thing
ignorant
to
of
do.
it if you want to fight against it.
Exactly.
The best
Yeah.
thing to do is to learn it,
Yeah.
so you have that as a powerful tool for you to use. And
The information is
works
powerful.
both ways, you know.
Yeah. But that's where they guess on the other side they might fall short, especially scientists, where they won't take them, and religious fanatics, they won't take themselves outside of it. So when the shit really does hit the fan, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, they're not going to have a true understanding of the universe as a whole, or want to understand. They'll only understand one part. But most people I know who are keen into the esoteric side of life do have an interest in science as well.
Absolutely.
And like, what's going on here in biology, and
You need to think critically.
you need to think
Otherwise,
critically.
you just get totally taken away with the fluffiness of it and the warm and fuzzy, and it's beautiful, and it's a really beautiful part of when you receive healings or you are a healer or whatever. But it's important to stay grounded, and I think the science part of it keeps you in touch with that, this physical realm, this reality. Because it's really easy.
That's what we exist in.
Yeah, it's really easy just to go, everything's really lovely and lazy, and but sometimes it's necessary to come back down to earth and understand that we're human beings.
You have to be very careful, I think.
Definitely.
If you're going down this path, not to get pulled into areas where it's nice to go to,
Absolutely.
because it's outside of what your thought structure was when you started, your core beliefs are, and the reason that you're on that path is because you have those core beliefs. Don't lose that.
Sure.
Like you were talking about crystals and stuff in another podcast, and for me it's just I can't go there. I don't want to go there. Like to me it's like oh, crystals, fuck. Now you're starting sounding crazy. Not saying you did, because you were the opposite. You said, oh, I don't necessarily believe in it.
Yeah.
You set that boundary straight away.
Sure.
I'm not saying that I believe in it, but I had a go of looking at them.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You got to taste everything in this world.
Definitely.
You got to try all the wonderful things that are around.
Yeah.
But for me, I when someone's adamant about that, I'm like, oh, you're crazy. Fuck that.
Yeah, sure.
We're off. We're not the same wavelength.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I think that suspension of critical thinking and that suspension of what's the word I'm trying to use? It's skepticism.
Yeah, you're getting lost in the fun.
Yeah, then that's the
true.
dangerous thing. If
Yeah.
you suspend that skepticism and you suspend that really rational way of looking at things, then that's really dangerous. No matter what it is, you can be really, you have to question. It's basically a thing of questioning everything that you love or everything that you're passionate about. And I agree with you, man. It's those people that get lost in completely lost in one thing and won't ask questions about it or won't analyze it. And like, hang on, what am I doing? Then I'm the same.
But once going back again, if it's a placebo and it's beneficial to them, is that cool?
But is it beneficial to them though?
Well, chiropractic work is for me, but there's many people that will say, "Man, you're getting full, brother."
But
I don't have to pay for it though, right? You see, so it's not like it's not a money thing.
Sure,
there's no transaction of money. She's like my family.
Yeah, right.
We're super close with these people. We've grown to love them as our neighbours, and then become our family. Really, I'll do anything for them. So it's not, it's not.
Can I ask though? Is there a part of you that does question it, like
No.
Okay.
No, because I walk to a house. Well, I used to.
Yeah.
I used to walk across the fence.
Yeah.
And like an old man, and walk back like a young guy who can go and now go fight 3 rounds.
Right. Okay.
And that to me is powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's proof in the pudding.
It has to be,
Right.
man. Like, what else have I got to go on?
But that's the difference between
all.
that and crystals, though. I mean, that's the thing. Anything on that we're talking about, that's a physical manifestation where you can understand it better because you've got a better understanding of this physical world. But when it's on a metaphysical level and some other part where crystals operate at, something that most people can't see, then it's harder to get any defining outcome from it.
I hear you, man. And crystals are atoms, right? And we're all atoms.
All energy condensed.
Everything is atoms. So maybe there is some truth in it.
Yeah.
And also, that's what our bones are made out of: calcium, phosphorus.
Is that really? Okay.
Yeah, but crystals don't sing to me. I've got a few inside, my boy's grandma's given them, who loves them, and they don't do nothing to me. It's a rock.
Yeah.
I'm digging a chicken house at the back. I've been doing the foundations, and I'm digging up beautiful bits of quartz and stuff that look awesome. And my daughter's like, "Wow, look at the colours of this. It's awesome." All these different. It's not telling her anything poignant.
Yeah.
It's a rock.
Sure. You've just got me thinking about something. Have you heard that there's that correlation between human beings' fascination with jewelry like and diamonds because of the psychedelic experience? Like, we look at a diamond or we look at an opal or something like that. The geometry, the colours, it brings us back to this state of being in the psychedelic realm, which human beings, it can be argued, we've been taking psychedelics for a long period of time, and it's really...
100%.
Yeah, and it's been pretty much proven that
it's true.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
We use it
reason
for
why we
evolution.
have a pineal gland. I mean, if we weren't meant to have these experiences, we wouldn't produce dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. Our bodies wouldn't be capable of it.
Yeah, but just quickly, I'll just
everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Just to finish off, I mean, you've had some really interesting experiences in your life. You've seen that. You've already had all that. So when you look
tangible,
at
man.
Yeah, it's tangible. But so then when you look at a crystal or diamond, it's like, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. I know what that's about. And you don't have to you're not totally oh wow, because you've had that. Oh wow, fucking no. You've had that before.
Like, I meditate, right? And I don't need to use incense.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, that Indian incense is toxic shit. Like, I can't stand it. I like the Japanese stuff. So I do. I haven't been for a while, but I used to go to the Buddhist temple, which is down in Rochdale.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful temple, and I'd go there and meditate for a bit, and you buy some Japanese incense, and it's delicious. Like, I could just sit in that all day long. Yeah, it's what's over me,
Yeah.
But the Indian shit, terrible.
Sure.
Disgusting. But I don't need that to get to what I want to achieve out of meditation. I don't need the incense. I don't need the crystals. I don't need the candle. And some people say, oh, you need to be in the same place at the same time every day. No, fuck that. I can do it in the office at work on my break.
Yeah.
I can take 20 minutes, I can punch 20 minutes out and go, oh, 20 minutes has just gone by. My alarm goes off. You know what I mean? I don't need all those fancy things, but that's me.
Sure. Yeah.
Was it Dan Hardy said when he takes his mushrooms, his salt and he has his candles and all that shit.
Shrine set
Hey,
up.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Power to you, but I don't need that.
Sure.
If I was going to do psilocybin, I'd be out at Springbrook Mountain, sitting behind the Rainbow Waterfall, just chilling out. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, nice.
I'd rather take it from nature. I know rocks are nature. They're nature. But anyway.
It's different.
Anyone who's listening that loves crystals, I love you. It's alright.
It's just not your thing.
I still have compassion in my nephew, but
do you like them? Are you into it?
I do.
Oh, might be hurting SJ.
You know.
You can never hurt SJ.
No, definitely not. But I think we all have our tools as well. So we all are energetic beings. We all operate at a particular frequency. So, you know, for you, Adrian, you know, like you have really naturally gravitated towards psychedelics and ayahuasca and things like that. That's your medicine. You and Mother Aya get along beautifully. Obviously, sometimes it's a troubled relationship.
Oh, she kicks my ass.
Your ass, but that's what you need, right? You know, and with your, you know, the chiropractor, that's just the healing, the energetic healing that your body responds to and needs. It's tangible, and it makes sense about you. You're a fighter. Everything's really physical. Of course, it's going to take good cracking to get you back to where you need to be.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, you know, and for me, it's like I respond really well to vibrational medicine. So, you know, working with other energetic healers and really understanding, oh, this is what you do. You know, and how can I use myself and help other people? You know,
that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. I would never sit here and say, oh, Reiki's bullshit, because I haven't done it. Oh, Reiki's bullshit. They don't even touch you, you idiot. Because I haven't done it. But if I do it and it doesn't work, then I'm going to sit here and say, for me, it's bullshit.
It's not your vibration.
But don't let that, if you like that, let's not hate each other over that. We're still brothers and sisters, you know?
Right. We all have different healers because we're all different. We all have different frequencies.
And different tools.
And different tools.
Yeah,
exactly
so crystals might be it for one person.
Yeah. Exactly right. You know, that's the vibration that they're at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, spot on, SJ. Spot on.
We all find our healers eventually.
Yeah.
And we all need to.
Yeah.
It's really, we're on a rock spinning through space, and we have no idea what space really is at this point. We're trying to figure it out, and we're all lost.
Yeah.
You know, and we see that because we need other human beings. You can't survive without humans. It was that experiment they did where they took a baby and they gave it food and water and shelter, but no touching.
Yeah.
And they die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening, like especially back in the day with adoptions.
Wild children too.
Yeah.
Kid got found and had never had really human interaction.
Yeah.
And was never taught to speak. Yeah. It's really interesting to know, actually.
Yeah, the chicken kid or something. What was it?
It's called Wild Child.
Okay.
Wild Child.
I think I read
There's
that.
a few of them. There's been a few cases of that on the live with the wolves or whatever. You know, been raised by, or this kid was raised in a chicken coop.
Yeah, right.
So he thinks he's a chicken. Or the dog kid. You know, there's a great story in Tassie. And it's interesting because
of course.
It's a great story. My nan was
Tassie.
Yeah, I'm going to get a bit clouded with this because I thought this was the story, and isn't it interesting when you have these stories that you've grown up with, and then later on you find out, you ask your parents about it, and they say, "It didn't happen."
Yeah, sure.
I'm getting that a lot now. Maybe everything I've ever known is not right.
Yeah.
But anyway, and my wife was telling me her mum says to all the time, "Your dad never said that," or "This never happened." What are you talking about? But anyway, my nan tells a story of how she was a door-to-door salesman selling combs, like selling hairbrushes in Tassie. And she's come to this farmhouse, and she's knocked on the door, and she's walked past this dog in the kennel, and it seems a bit strange, and said to her, talked to the lady at the door, and turns out that the dog in the kennel is her daughter, who's chained up because she's inbred, crazy, covered in hair dog. So I always question this story, like, it sounds a bit weird, right?
Yeah.
So I start shooting with Josh Backham, this photographer I was telling you about, that's getting some acclaim at the moment, and he's a beautiful guy and a cool guy to hang around with. And he's from Tasmania.
Okay.
And he starts telling me this story about this door-to-door salesman woman and this lady who was chained to, and it's apparently a true story because it's in New Norfolk. And he'd gone into an old abandoned mental home there and done some shots. And I said, "Oh, in Norfolk, yeah, that's where my nan sold the comb." And I told him the story, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard that story." And
yeah, right.
And and I'm thinking, now, didn't my nan tell me about it, or was it her?
Sure.
You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah.
But this was within the last 200 years. What am I saying? My nan's 80, so it must have been 60 years because she must have been in her 20s by the time she was that sort of business. So.
And it's still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to Tassie next
classic.
week, so
okay.
I might go look for the dog lady.
Go for one.
Yeah, make a doco about
Take
it.
your dog with
Find
some.
out, is it real? Unfortunately with docos, you need money. Like you have this great idea, I'm going to make this documentary, and it doesn't have to be long, but soon you find out, I'm going to travel, or I'm going to find resources. And
the travel thing's a killer, isn't it? But I mean, the actual cost of production must have come down a fair bit. Like since 30 years ago.
You own a camera, it's digital, and you have a Mac or something that you can process on, and that's all you need.
Sure.
And if you own that already, a school or
home. So that's a great thing. That's an amazing thing that technology has brought us, this ability to again share information like documentaries. And like, in fact, for you and I to do a podcast and just hook it up, okay, and then it's over there in the whole rest of the world. I mean, we no way we would have had that ability 10 years ago. Maybe 10 years ago, say 15 to 20 years ago, you'd have to have like a radio show or something.
Talk
back.
Yeah. Pirate radio or something.
Like some sort of pirate radio.
It was a good movie,
tune into.
See that movie?
It was a good movie.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. But
you have
now,
to do something like that. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, good times, man. It is good times. There's a positive and a negative to everything.
Yep. It's the duality of this universe. Yeah.
Whatever good happens is equal and opposite reaction. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
This is making me feel good. It won't be good tomorrow.
Sure.
After a few.
Yeah.
There's an opposite reaction to feeling good. You gotta. What do they say? There's no biological free lunch.
Yeah. I love that saying. It's true, isn't it?
It is so true.
Yeah. And that extends to the metaphysical level too. It can be argued.
SJ has to go to work at some point. Because we need money. I've done an hour and 15.
It's pretty good going, eh? Jeez, hasn't felt like that long.
Never does, man. Do an hour and it's like, have you ever done a podcast with anyone? I shouldn't ask that question because they might be watching. I won't ask that.
I feel.
Alright, it's time to shut up now.
Generally they're pretty good, but I can't even. No, everyone's been pretty good. Some are like better than others, though, I have to admit. Some of it you just come from, you just charge like, fuck, can you believe what we just did? Just that's a great thing about podcasting. You have that podcast conversation. Nothing else, like the three of us have just had this talk, and nothing else has mattered. No external distractions, not even this camera. Like it's just been three of us just connected, and you just reach a state of and nothing else matters. It's very much a meditative thing.
When you start doing jiu-jitsu, BJJ, it's the same thing, man. You hit their mats, and all the problems in your life, they're gone for an hour or two, man. They're gone. Surfing, same thing. Although I've always done things that I've found really hard. Like jiu-jitsu, I knew was a lifetime challenge. Or playing guitar. I've been playing guitar for 15 years. Terribly. You might not play, or you might not play and go, Tim, show me some chords. And this happens to me all the time. I might not see this person for a year and a half, and I'll come around or whatever, and how's the guitar going? Yeah, you got your guitar here. And they're shredding, and I'm like, you bastard.
Yeah, sure.
I have to work at them chops, man. It's taken me 15 years to do that, and they're just naturals at it. Yeah. So, and photography's the same. It's just like, this is difficult. It's so multi-layered, so multifaceted. It's not just you point a camera, push a button. Fuck no.
I thought Timmy had like a natural gift for it. Like some of the stuff I've seen, you are quite an incredible photographer.
Well, I appreciate that, but when you start to, it's like everything. It's like guitar. Like you play guitar and you want to. Your first thing is you want to change chords quickly. So you're doing a G and you're like, and you're stretching that last finger, and then it's muted. Your high E string's not ringing out right, And then one day you're like, I can change it the way around, and then that was all you ever wanted to get out of that instrument. And now it's like, now I want to play my favourite song. And you struggle through it, and then one day you smash that song. And then when you get to that level, you realise you're shit. And then you get to the next level, you realise you're shit. And it just keeps going on forever. You're shit. And then when you can play scales and put it all together, you realise that now you have to start again. You have to start doing it slowly, so the nuances of the notes and the silence between the hopes is bright.
That constant state of perfection.
Oh man,
trying to achieve
never
perfection.
ends.
Yeah.
Never ends. And photography's like that. Like a girl that's in a photography group I'm with posted this picture the other day, and I'll show you later. And it's just a picture of a family, and I just cannot stop looking at it. I'm just staring at it, and how did she do that?
Yeah.
You know, I've got a grasp on what, and I've asked her, can you please do a tutorial on how you did that? Because I want to steal your methods. I need them.
Yeah.
I can't get to where I want to get
Sure.
without it.
Learn from it, yeah.
But yeah, thanks, man. Like, I feel like it could be something I'm natural at. But and obviously you need an eye. You can't. Not everyone's going to get it. But I have it's the patience that separates the good from the great.
Yeah.
Like, great people will have the patience to go, okay, I'll take 200 frames to get that good picture, whereas I'm a 2-frame guy. Bang, bang.
Right.
If it's not right, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I can't sit there for hours. And
Yeah.
there's one girl who's in Melbourne, and she's just amazing. And if you read her, her name's Alison Cray. If you want to look it up, just beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
But she will quite often say in her questionnaires online or in magazines, wherever she's been in, how did you make this photo? Well, it took me 300 frames or 200 frames.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I have a great deal of patience.
Yeah.
I can never be Alison.
Maybe it's a practice for you though in this lifetime.
To be patient?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be your practice.
Fuck yeah, man.
And you've been able to, through jiu-jitsu, you've been able to learn facets of patience, you know, and
Absolutely.
controlling and taking your time. But now you've learnt that part, and now photography is giving you your next lesson in patience. But you know, like you said about the guitar, you'll get to that point in the level of patience with photography, and you'll be like, okay, I've got to go find something else, something even more intense.
Yeah.
That's going to test my patience even more.
It's
But
fun.
that's awesome you're going to do
last
that.
night though, you know, with the gene coding and the I Ching, it talks about that duality. So if you're when you're at a low vibration and when you're vibrating at that, and impatience comes out at that particular point, and then it's like the middle would be when you slightly raise your vibration, then that's going to be, you know, the gift essentially. What's the hidden gift behind that? Is patience.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you raise your vibration higher, I can't remember.
There's compassion.
There's compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you should totally send the links.
I'll send that link to you too.
Yeah, cool, man.
There's this real cool story about this too. We got so much to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Honestly, we won't do it in this podcast because a lot of it is personal too. But
Yeah, cool.
man, look out, right?
Hey, you know, it's funny. I'm kind of isolated here in a way. Like all my
That's how
my
it
true
goes.
friends and family are home, and there's some beautiful friends that I've made here that are lifetime friends.
Yeah.
I've never not have come here in my journey through life. This had to happen,
Yeah.
but there's no community here that's like that for me to delve into. And it's
Yeah.
like you were here,
Yeah.
and it was an option, but you know, it's like I could have come and learnt things and done things, but
Yeah.
man, time is so precious.
Yeah.
I've really come to understand that time is the master, everything.
Yeah.
It's not atoms. It's nothing else other than time.
Yeah.
Time controls. It's the be all and end all of everything.
Sure.
And you can't master it. You can't harness the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's got you by the balls, man. You know.
I understand what you're saying. I think I disagree though. I think we can master time. We do have the potential to do it. We
Man,
do.
that'd be fucking cool if you can, because I'm so excited to be alive.
Yeah.
There's so many lives that I want to live.
Yeah.
It pains me. Like,
Sure.
It's the one thing that could almost make me cry.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, you're going to London. I talked about earlier about making mistakes in life, and you said, no, they're not mistakes, they're things you learn. Well, friends of mine got to live in London, and I missed out on that, or they've gone and lived in South America, and they've had these unbelievable experiences, you know, and I didn't get that because I made errors or in judgment, perhaps. So I missed it. I feel like I might have missed out on things. But that being said, when I was a teenager, I had a video camera, and I pissed everybody off, man, because I'd had this in their face. I've got tapes and tapes and tapes of videos, and my wife collated some into one thing to give to friends. Like, this was you when you were 17, and this was us in New Year's 2000, tripping balls at this fucking rave or whatever, you know, like just moments in time that are special. And she watches it and goes, "You fucking bastard, you had an awesome life."
Yeah.
Like, wow, I didn't get to do any of this shit. You crazy fucks, what you did.
Sure.
You know, and my neighbour was like, "Man, the stories that you guys have got are crazy. Like, we didn't do any of that shit." So maybe I've been quite blessed.
Yeah, just in a
But
different.
do you always
in a
feel
different
like you've missed out on something
Oh,
else?
I do. Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure SJ does. I'm sure we all do because we've only lived life in a linear direction in this universe, but it's the potentialities. So we could have gone on off any exponent, and we're always going to wonder about those different exponents, no matter who, because it's just a linear progression in this universe. So of course you can have that. But Tim, yeah, you've had this podcast, man, and get to know a bit better. Today you've had a really interesting life.
Yeah,
You have.
Yeah,
You've experienced some shit that
And
not
we're
many people
young.
experienced, and you did it when you were young. Yeah. You went
That's
hard early.
Yeah, but you say you can burn the candle at both ends, but this is a long candle, man.
Do you know what this?
Candle.
Do you know what this is for you, Tim? This
I hope
period is this like last 10 years where you've I don't know, is it 10 years that you've started coming more into this and?
I've been here for 10 years. I've been outside of what I've always known.
But this state of
you
being,
mean,
where you've sort
Since I
of
was-
calmed yourself down and.
Yeah.
How long is that?
Since I started smoking weed.
So how long?
Full time, because I knew it was like probably 17 or 18, I don't know.
From the age.
I think, perhaps. I always self-medicated with it. You're too out there, man. You need to chill the fuck out.
So I reckon this is just it's been a long period of time, it's been another 17 years, but it's a consolidation period for you. You went through so much when you were a kid and had all these experiences and through your teenage years. You've just needed these last 17 years to go, oh, fuck, and actually absorb what occurred to you. And now look at you, man, you're fucking awesome. You've got such you've got such a great understanding of the world, and of people, and I'm really fucking fortunate. I feel really blessed that we've been able to connect again. Thanks so much, because man, you've got your shit going on, and but the reason you're there where you are now is because of those last 17 years where you've just I've got to quiet myself down now, and that's what makes marijuana such a great thing as well. Really allows you to really integrate what's your experiences and really absorb them. And you've just been doing it, man. So fucking good on you. You've had a really fortunate life, I reckon. It's had its ups and downs, of course, like every life. But
you've also been, when you were telling me about or telling us about your experiences when you were a young child and seeing, the name of the cloak and the visions you would see in the balloons and the energy. To me, when I was listening to all of that, you've been given a glimpse at a very, very, very early age of your power, your inner strength, your power. I mean, you're a 6-year-old child and you're being exposed to this multitude of different dimensions and this frequency that you were able to tune into, and you survived. You didn't cross that realm of crazy. You didn't go there. You could have stayed with it, and you could have really crossed over to the other side and gone psychopathic. You could have crossed the other side and gone completely just fucking Looney Tune. But you stayed with it. You were able to be an observer, and that takes incredible strength from inside, from within. So whatever you were able to tune into at that particular point in time when you're a 6-year-old boy, source, energy, God, whatever you want to call it, source, tapped into and recognised something very special and knew that, hey, I can give you access, this download to information, and from a very, very early age, and I know that you're going to be able to walk out of it relatively unscathed. You could have gone there. You could have gone loco. You could have ended up schizophrenic, homeless, really gone into drug use, really kind of delved into that other dimensional universe. And a lot of people we see with those kinds of mental illnesses, that's for me, and this is my purely only personal belief, is people who get those glimpses but then have it's that law of attraction. Oh, this feels really nice, this other dimension. Reality, fuck reality. I'm just going to keep going on this side, keep going on this side, and then you can't get back out. Well, you are the ultimate yin-yang. You have that balance. But it's about seeing that perspective. So you've seen universes and dimensions that nobody has ever had access to, other than under the influence of things like ayahuasca, DMT. You were doing that at 6. So when you do ayahuasca, and other experiences that you have, I mean, you're just going to skyrocket. You don't need to get on a plane and travel to the other side of the world or feel envious about what other people have experienced in this physical life because you've experienced it in a completely different
Yeah,
way.
and all that won't matter. Just won't matter because you'll have this. It'll be like your next trajectory, and all that shit in the past and your experiences just won't matter. You'll be thankful for them or you'll be grateful for them, but it doesn't matter what anyone else has done in the past. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past.
Yeah.
I think when you said when ayahuasca comes to you and you really get that next boot forward, you'll just go bang.
And you've imparted this beautiful gift onto your twins.
Yeah.
And you can nurture it. So, what you didn't get when you were a 6-year-old boy from your parents when you were going through all these experiences and they had no idea how to interact with you or make you feel like this was normal and, hey, just go with the ride, this means you're really special.
Yeah.
Someone's seeing something really, really powerful and special in you. You're in that position.
Yeah.
It's a
You
lesson.
can guide them.
Yeah, it's a cycle that you've passed on to your beautiful boys, and you can ride the wave with them. They don't have to be fearful. You're not going to drag them to a hospital and have these cords attached to
Put
their
them on
heads.
pills and
You're going to make them understand that, hey, this is part of being a human being.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really refreshing to hear that because I've never thought of it like that. I never thought it was a crazy thing. I just didn't know what it was.
It's just different.
Yeah, I was just, and if my parents were to sit here, they'd sit here and go, that everything that he said is exactly because we've discussed it. And man, I know as a parent seeing my kids, it's fucking freaky. I can only imagine back in the 80s what they thought.
With no
I can remember my
understanding.
mum driving me to the psych to get the test, crying with a friend driving. A friend took her.
My child.
Yeah, like bawling. I'm like, what are you crying for?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, no, I can remember that. So,
But do you know what they do though? Like in indigenous societies where medicine healing and shamanism is promoted, any child that shows those gifts and like we look at it from Western world and like, oh fuck, what do I do? Quick, give them a pill. But in those societies, they nurture those children. Like for you, they would have taken you in. They would have been like, okay, let's work with this, and we'll tell you what's going on, and you just keep going with it. You just go with it as far as you need. We don't have that in the Western world, but what you did was such a great thing. You managed to like get through that bullshit and understand it on your level, on your own. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. All right. I think we might wrap up, eh?
Yeah, that's good.
Have you got a website for your photography or a blog or?
No, I'm going to close down the blog I've got.
Okay.
I do have a blog, but I'm going to close it down because I'm not happy with. I don't want anyone to see what I started with.
Okay.
Gone to the next level now, so I kind of don't.
Don't.
Yeah, well, kind of. I have to be like that. You got to understand.
Okay.
You have to understand the photography well, but that's cool. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't. I've sort of got to pull myself back and go. Okay. Like the reason I'm showing photos now is I'm forcing myself to do a 365 photo project, where every day I take a photo,
Yeah.
and then occasionally I'll chuck one up for people to look at, and also to self-promote. So people say, "Oh, Tim, can you shoot my family?" And I might make a little bit of money and get better.
Sure.
Or I might offer it for free and get better, depending on who it is and the situation. So no, I don't. I'm closing my urban exploration blog down. It's going to be gone.
Okay.
But I am going to work on that doco.
Yeah.
That might be something that I can chuck to you later to promote for me.
Sure. Awesome. Definitely will. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Ever since you started, you're the reason I did my podcast. They're on hiatus at the moment. The Elemental podcast is on hiatus until I finish things that are more important for me at the moment.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, I've always wanted to come on and talk.
Yeah.
Because I like to talk.
Yeah. Sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think as soon as I first started doing these, and then always thinking about people like to get on, and when we started chatting more, it was like, fuck, I gotta get Tim on the podcast. But I thought it'd only work out when Tim came over to Perth, because I never imagined myself being in Brisbane.
No, not at all. I was a shock last week when you said, hang on a minute, I'm going to be there. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is great.
Sure. Well, it's for this amazing woman. Like, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. And then it was just like, you were the one that mentioned it. Let's do a podcast. I didn't even think of it. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do a podcast. Sounds like a great one.
We have the technology.
Have the technology.
Good Custard album.
Have the ability.
Check it out. Custard's album. I love it.
Yeah, right.
Just listen to it today.
I never used to like Custard when I was younger, then I got into them when I was older.
Good Brisbane band, man. It's just all about Brisbane. You start listening to the lyrics, you're like, oh, he's talking about the city there.
Yeah, apartment.
Yeah.
I love that song. Yeah. All right, SJ, thank you very much.
Speed Lab and Kombucha.
And as you get the password going, we'll close up, eh?
Yeah,
cool. All right, well, thanks very much, everyone. It's been a really good podcast, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.